I'm here to argue that American college football is trash. College football is exploitive, it's not educational, it's racist, and it's inherently harmful. It does not advance universities' educational mission and does not belong in higher ed. Yeah. College football started out bad. From its earliest days, people were dying, and they were paying players who weren't students. So public outrage forced some reforms and the creation of the NCAA, but spoiler alert, it hasn't gotten any better. College football is now a massive business. Despite claiming a nonprofit educational status, college football generates billions annually. FBS programs average tens of millions of dollars in revenue, and multiple teams are valued at over $1 billion. But how they get there is because college football relies on labor exploitation. Players create enormous economic value, but the money goes to the universities and the conferences, not the actual athlete workers. So who benefits the most? The coaches. They make millions and are often among the highest paid public employees in a state. Players function as employees, but they don't get labor protections. The National Labor Relations Board said that players meet the legal definition of an employee, but they lack basic workers' rights. Their so-called compensation, their scholarship, is conditional and can be revoked at any time. They have no meaningful say in their working conditions. They also don't have collective bargaining, an example of which is that decision makers unilaterally lengthen the playoffs. Great for the money for universities, but it exposes players to increased injury risks, and they get terrible publicity if they choose to sit out. There are also strict restrictions on player mobility. The transfer rule that made them sit a year only changed in 2026, and transfers are still controlled by a single narrow window. Coaches do have to let them into the portal, but coaches can hurt athletes' reputation so much that it limits their ability to go anywhere else. Oh, but what about NIL? They do get paid now. No. Profiting from name, image, and likeness is limited to a very small number of elite players, and those payments come from third-party collectives and corporations, not the schools. And even for the players who have big deals, they have to perform this additional promotional labor, so they're getting paid for their side hustle, not for football. And the House versus NCAA settlement does allow for schools to directly share revenue, but it's optional for universities to participate. It's capped at $20 million, and it's constrained by Title IX. College football isn't educational. Oh, but they go to school for free and they wouldn't have gotten in or able to afford it. Athletes are often recruited for places where they're academically unprepared, and their demanding athletic obligations prevent them from accessing this education that they were promised. Athletes frequently can't choose their own major or their schedule. Academic clustering funnels them into flexible or easier fields, discouraging participation in STEM or medicine, and finding them disproportionately placed into communications and sport management. Players routinely exceed more than 40 hours a week on football. NCAA regulations are supposed to limit that, but it doesn't count things like travel time, physical treatment, required study hall, or team meals. So they don't have time for things like internships or other academic engagement. And major programs have engaged in systemic academic fraud. Notably, my beloved alma mater, UNC, placed athletes into fake paper classes, which required no attendance, no professor interaction, and was graded by a non-faculty staff member. Oh, but they're going to the NFL. Who cares if they get an actual education? Also no, fewer than 4% of D1 players reach the NFL. Despite over 30,000 players playing each year, only this tiny fraction went to the NFL in the last 15 years put together. Also, college football is racist. Scholars compare college football to a plantation system where black bodies disproportionately bear physical risks and the benefits go to white coaches and administrators. In 2025, 45% of D1 college athletes were black and 82% of head coaches are white. And players still face racist abuse. Racist traditions and incidents persist, including Native American mascots and Confederate symbolism. UF's chant and UT's song have racist history, and there have been recent examples of racist imagery on social media and racist taunts at games. And college football is harmful. We're watching them kill themselves. Football has among the highest injury rate in college sports. Over half of the players get injuries each season, which require significant medical intervention and have long-term physical consequences. And the injuries are severe. Heat stroke can kill, and repeated head trauma causes CTE. CTE is brain damage that causes memory loss, mood disorders, impulsivity, and suicidal thoughts. And studies have shown that 90% of posthumously examined college football players had CTE. And their medical care is inadequate. Athletes are not guaranteed institutional health insurance that would cover the cost of a serious injury, and they're forced to have their own insurance. And team doctors face conflicts of interest, where they're prioritizing return to play instead of the athlete's well-being. So in conclusion, stop pretending that sports entertainment belongs in a university. We're the only country in the world that uses its higher ed system as a farm league for pro sports. It's impossible to reconcile the pedagogical mission of our universities with the harm inherent in this sport. Thank you.